Hello, students. So next I'm going to talk with you about how to put together a really great PowerPoint for your personal experience speech. So if you go into Google Classroom and scroll down to your final TED Talk, your personal experience speech, there is a PowerPoint on PowerPoints that you can take a look at. And again, the goal of looking at this PowerPoint is to be able to create a PowerPoint presentation that is visually engaging by following Miss Orr's 6 rules for creating PowerPoints. Now, you may notice that I don't necessarily follow these rules in class when I'm presenting information to you, or maybe your teachers have PowerPoints that don't follow these rules. And that's because our PowerPoints are for teaching you something. And you guys are going to be creating PowerPoints that help to support the story that you tell in this project. So they're going to be a little different. The first rule for PowerPoint creation for your personal experience speech is to make sure that there are no more than 6 words on a slide. And that's because we want to make sure that when you're presenting your PowerPoint, that your PowerPoint doesn't get too distracting. You don't want to have so much vocabulary and words on your slides that your audience is looking at your PowerPoint and not you. Also, as speakers, we have a tendency to angle our bodies towards our PowerPoint slides and our projector when we're presenting. And if you have a ton of words on your slide, it's really easy to rely on your slides as notes rather than looking at the audience and making eye contact with them. The second rule for creating a PowerPoint for this project is to not use a template or some sort of pre-made generic template in Google Slides when creating this. So what I mean by this is if you're in Google Slides and you go to theme, okay, I don't want to see you using any of these very generic pre-made templates. I want you to pick your own. Use photos, pick your own font, pick the colors of the font that you want to use. Be creative and try to create the PowerPoint slide that is going to match your story. And try to avoid these themes that are already created for you. They're generic, they're boring, people use them all the time, and I want to see you making your own. The second rule that you need to follow when working on your PowerPoint slides is that you want to avoid using generic animation when crafting your slides. So your PowerPoints don't need swish, swooshes, or foomps when you click through them, meaning I don't want to see your text sliding across the screen or flying in from the right-hand side. It can be just a little bit distracting for your audience. And again, the point is for these slides to help support your story, not distract from what you're saying. So again, to review, no more than 6 words on a slide, no templates, and no animation for your photos or your text in those slides. The next rule that I want you to think about is being selective and strategic with your imagery. I want you to think about this question. If you were giving a speech on a big hike that you did in Africa, which image do you think would be the most powerful? Now, hopefully, you thought about this image right here, this one on the left. And the reason this one is more powerful is, let's say this was actually the image that you took of yourself while you were on this trip. This is going to be more descriptive of what you were doing than either of these 2 images. While this image up here of the luggage definitely could represent a trip, it's not really showing where you went or what it looked like. It's not a very exciting picture. And same thing down here. This isn't representing where you went or what you did. It's not giving the audience a look into the story that you're telling. And it kind of just looks like a generic stock image. Rule number 5 is going to be to use a remote. This is going to help you to click through your slides much easier. You won't have to step behind my computer to click through on a keyboard. So again, when presenting with a PowerPoint, you want to make sure you use a remote. And then finally, rule number 6, your images should reinforce your speech and provide a visual interpretation to your audience and they should appeal to pathos and logos when needed. So again, we talked about images already, but when you're selecting your images, you want them to support your story and provide a visual representation of what your story was about. Um, so this is actually a photo of me when I spent a summer in Thailand. And if I were to give this speech, one of the stories that I love to talk about was the story of the day that I went to an elephant conservation facility when I was in Chiang Mai. And this is actually a picture that was taken of me. We got to spend our afternoon giving the baths to the elephants and scrubbing them down. And it was a really emotional day for me. My grandfather had actually passed away that morning, and I thought about going home and I thought about flying back, but I was in the middle of a job and I couldn't really leave. And it was just a really emotional day, but I went to this elephant conservation facility and I learned all about. The elephants and their lives in Thailand and what this organization did. And it was just one of the most perfect days that I had ever had. And this was sort of the end of it. And being with the animals just made me so happy by the end of the day, as I think you can tell by this photo. So, again, you want these photos that you bring in. I would encourage you to bring in for your PowerPoints photos that help to illustrate your story that you've taken or that somebody else has taken, or photos of you. Those can be the most powerful images. So again, this PowerPoint is available on Google Classroom if you go under your summative speeches, and you will get a score on this speech for following these rules for creating PowerPoints. So definitely check out your next assignment related to this video and let me know if you have any questions.